is forming, okay, and it's forming out dendritically, okay, it's actually forming out dendritically in this exact three-dimensional lattice formation, fractally, which is why it's helical. Now, that is your smoking gun. It is the geometries that we've been discussing all along. It is one of these guys.
It's the smoking gun. Oh, the smoking plasma.
All right. Look familiar?
Yeah.
Tetragrammaton you got going on there.
What's up,
Now
Bernie?
go back to the picture. Now, what else do you realize about this? Once you start connecting dots, you realize that not only is it a tetragrammaton, but what does the tetragrammaton do? Because it's all present and geometrically correct in 3 dimensions. Well, it squares the circle with the triangle. It has all the functional geometries in the proper spot and proportion.
What do you think, Bernie?
I think it's all very synchronistic, happening, exposing itself for a reason, because it's just the architect of our universe. Essentially, it is the God code, and we're cracking it. And I love the work, and I'm just here to listen.
This is why you get to a 0 point, the highest energy possible, because you're converting what we are, which is light, into plasma, which is what we are. We start out as light, we go to plasma, and we still have light in us. It's always been there.
By the way, this is the Father, and the RAV is the Son. Okay? So where's the Holy Ghost? Well, the Holy Ghost is the satellite that forms, and the satellite is always there, whether you see it in its bright formation or not. You'll always see the secondary dot that is in locked position. So that's the transient between the Son and the Father, is that Holy Ghost.
Sorry, I'm driving. I'll be back here in a few minutes.
Yes, sir. Thanks for popping in, Bern.
Oh, love you guys. Love what you're doing.
So I'm going to show something right here. We were telling you that the RAV itself, when it builds out, it's literally building the structures. So I want you to take a look in your upper left-hand corner and look at the structure that's there. Then look in your right-hand corner where we built out the RAV. I want you to understand we're looking at the same thing here. You are literally looking at them putting this into rock. They're describing plasma. They're describing plasmoids. If you look further to the rock on the left, it's a plasmoid. That's what those items are. You look and see the swirl. The swirl's 100% there in between the two. Everything that you see on that rock is sitting right in front of you in plasma. It's also, just so you can see it right there, you see at the bottom, that's our magnetosphere. You see the plasmoid building out in it on the outside? This right here is the exact same structure. You could see it building out on the outside. You could see where the lines are and where it builds out. This is why planets build out in where the sun builds out at, the lines where it builds out at, where the energy is. And depending on what side of the energy that you're on, is how much energy is in your planet. This is you see the rainbow in it? It's all a mathematical fact when you put it all together.
That's correct. And by the way, when we found the chalice, okay, we traced, I traced the chalice out. I drew all the fields that I gathered to exist, right? And I was like, it looks familiar. I start researching it, and that was exactly the correlation that was brought up, was the magnetosphere of Earth. That it was exactly, precisely, proportionally, everything the same about it. And what that means about Earth is very interesting. And I'll throw this out there for people. And I'm not saying this is definitive, okay, but it seems, it's like kind of got a good case for it, huh? But the RAV doesn't always have to be hot,
No.
right? The RAV just has to be equal, okay, or asymmetrically equal. It needs to be equilibrium and balance. You see, it's the balance point of the rest of the system that allows for the rest of the system to actually take place. And when you look at Earth, you realize that in our particular case, we could well be something to either the RAV itself, an analogy to the RAV itself, or at minimum the satellite of the RAV, the Holy Ghost part. See? Because again, it doesn't have to be hot, it just has to be in equilibrium. So if the asymmetric equilibrium is cool bias, then you're going to have a lot of trapped high energy state in matter, which means that because it's trapped, okay, it's habitable, because that's what it's doing. And at the core, you see, is a whole nother story. But at the outer rungs, where we are up here, we're just seeing the fruits of the process.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the deal.
Yeah, you can already see this thing. It's starting to change. When you watch the video of this and you watch it in slow motion, you'll see the pink structure right there on the end. It'll rotate back and forth on the outside of the bubble that you're seeing going on there. And in doing that, it'll try to decide whether it wants to be on one side or the other. And it goes to a higher energy state as it's pushed closer to the outside of the bubble, and to a lower energy state when it's inside. It's an interesting watch. I have it on my other channel on my shorts, or you can watch it. I believe I have it on the membership channel as well in the shorts. It's a fascinating video in what you're actually witnessing here. You're seeing plasma play out in in our solar system. It literally describes one or the other. So,
Yep.
but it also is an ancient writing. That's scary, guys. How many years has that been carved into the stone?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, once you understand what it is to form the RAV, if you're a guy like me, you start to also realize things like, well, we have energy. How come I can't be a RAV? But, like, is that what has happened throughout history? Did people understand how to harness this literally within themselves? And what does that mean for the alchemical change of your biological and psychological processes? Like, what does that mean when you create this separation of the hot and cold and you let it come out in just the right way? What does that mean? And just the physical energy that you have. There's all sorts of sides of this that could have been well understood a long, long time ago, that goes and explains myths and legends and everything like that. And I'm not saying that I believe that unequivocally, but there's reason to believe that maybe that is the case. I don't know that they had the ability to form this with high voltage arcs and this, that, the next thing. There might have been a totally different mechanism that just follows the same exact principle, because you just come to realize that everything comes to be this way. This is the crown of creation.
I'm looking up the video for everybody because they were looking for it. Let's see. I'm not sure which one it is. Oh, this is a real good one. Okay. I love this. This is in super slow motion. Now, let me rewind it because there's something you might be missing. There's an exchange that just happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we missed. I think we missed it.
Okay, hold on. So you see it? You see it built out. You see the structure, right? There's your light structure, no question, where it is. Okay? Look what it's doing right now.
Yep.
Right
It's
there.
reaching out to it. It's pulling in from it and feeding to it.
There's your exchange.
Yep. That
It
is
just
the exchange.
It just pulled the light right into the RAV, and the RAV amplified. Take a look at it again.
I mean, we've seen, by the way, we've seen these things eat and put out the RAV, the 9.
Oh, I'll show you. It's just converting back all day. But that's your exchange process. By the way, it puts out Joe's worm.
Yep. Yeah, that one was chucking all sorts of crap out of it. Because it's in such direct relationship in that case.
It's interesting. It detaches from the anode altogether.
Yeah, right. Detached altogether from the anode, but it's still there.
That's pretty ironic, man.
Right. And hold on. Any questions? You know what I mean? Like, this should be on the news, man. Like,
yeah, it does look like what Terrence Howard's talking about because he was actually saying something that was true. They just tried to, trip him up with stupid things. I'm just saying, guys, it's right in front of your face. You can decide what you want. I know what it is. Joe knows what it is. And as we start breaking down more footage and we go from regular footage to slow motion and everything else, this is why we want to do a whole series on it, because it's showing things that you normally wouldn't see. And we're showing them in detail of how they actually come together, how they split apart, how energy is formed, how it pulls through the medium, all of it. And we have the proof, we have the crystallization, we have the energy transfer here, and we can show it go from light to plasma to light, and it's the conversion. That's what's going on here. We're pulling it through. We're pulling through that dimension in order to get it. But we also showed where it shoots a beam of light out and it creates it somewhere else. So just understand this when we go to say, well, how did we get our sun? Just understand this on a small level is comparison to the big level. How do you think we got it? Because there's a particle in space doing. What was going on with 3I Atlas? Why was it acting the way it did? Because it was literally structured plasma. It wasn't a comet like they think. Inside of it, you had a RAV inside of it. That's why you get the color difference between the spectrums. And Sean has this on his spectrum analyzer, where it'll actually show you on one side that it's blue and the other side that it was red, I think it was, because it's to the outside spectrums of the light. And it kept flashing back and forth. Well, this is why, because it was never a tail. It was always structured plasma.
Because it's doing what we've proposed that it did all along, which is separating the differentials.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's and it's interesting because even though it is what it is, it could be the same but in different ways depending on how you configure it, what you bring into relationship with it. Because again, it's the same as building out fields. So when you bring more than one RAV into the same ecosystem, for instance, it changes the relationship. When you put the the matter constituents, you know, as different material, you know, the contents of it is different. It's still doing the same thing, but at the same time, it's doing it with different bits and pieces. It's kind of like how a car is a car, but a Ford isn't a Chevy, right? It's similar in circumstance to that. And, you know, you could build it in different ways to actually achieve different things, and the things that it achieves is everything.
Okay, you guys want a transmutation? This is crystal.
Mhm.
This is transmutated crystal. This is not the snow. This does not go away. This stays on the surface of the clay itself.
And what did Sean get on the spectrogram reading on that?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
I don't remember either.
It's literally crystal, though.
Mhm.
This is why things are so important. It's a transmutation. It's got a crystal structure. You can't get away from it.
Does it build up and get thicker? I believe so. As long as it's in the equilibrium zone where it's recombining, then it's staying. If it's outside of the equilibrium zone, then it's fractal snow and it goes away. So the more you run it, I would presume the more it builds. I know that Sean has several examples that have several deposits. So yeah, I think it does build up.
Yeah, it's a little more than the star in the jar because it's in open air.
It's an open air, and it's under control. It
Yeah.
is whatever we put in it. It doesn't have to be an intermedium. You
Yeah.
know? Right. The Star in a Jar had a lot of contingencies there. You know, it was relying on the difference in the medium, you know, to push the cavitation bubble out to cause a vacuum. You got the excitation, but the fact is that that excitation was limited to whatever was in that bubble. We could put whatever we want in this bubble.
Yeah.
And make it out of all sorts of various proportions of energy. That's the thing. You move the proportion of energy, and it's still a RAV, but it acts slightly different. You see, that's it. It has to do with the proportion of the energy, which is directly correlated to the frequency and the voltage and the mass.
So far, Joe, we've shown light to plasma,
Mhm.
and now this is plasma to crystal.
Right. We've also shown plasma to light, like
Yeah.
not plasmatic emission of light. We've shown plasma throwing off light. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've shown structuring of something that no one's ever proposed to existed. Nobody's even ever said that exists. I mean, we
Yeah.
know it's the 0 point, but that's so vague. What does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, we know what this is.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing, though. It's just the highest state of energy. That's it.
Yeah,
And
it's a well, right? It's a well of the high energy potential. Yep.
it's a well that's continuously running. Okay.
That you can structure.
That you.
Yeah, right. You can structure it well.
So you look at this and you go, well, what's the moon made out of? Mostly crystal. mostly crystal, and it's combined by rock. Oh, well, that's pretty interesting, right? What's going on in the core of our planet? Well, it's a lot of crystal. Every time we get to a cavern, what's building out in it? Crystal. Why? Because of the way this is structured. It's mimicking everything the Earth does. Okay, how do we get oscillation in the Earth? Well, crystal. Every time it comes through there, there's a frequency in the chamber of the crystal.
Mhm.
It's literally,
So
guys.
so hold on. How does elemental dust form? Right. Well, I mean, the answer is, well, this, if it's not forming on a substrate, right? So if you have this forming in thin air, it can only form one molecule, one elemental molecule like this at a time.
Mhm.
Maybe a couple of them will incidentally bond while they're still in a high energy state, if they're able to. If there's free electrons, if they're in an electron cloud, which this has, okay. But once it falls out of that, then its bonding event is over. So whenever you see a dusty ass planet that's just covered in dust, well, that's because its matter creation was not on a surface. It had no seed, you see? That's the key, is the seed. And that's the one thing about the RAV that makes the RAV is that it needs a seed. The clay
Mhm.
was the seed. The ball of metal that it forms is the seed that it's creating in its own,
Yeah.
resonance patterns. Without that, it won't form. It needs that seed. So it'll still create matter, right? If the matter is created on the surface of the seed, then it crystallizes in a very solid lattice form, and it structures large macroscopically as a lattice. If it forms in the cloud, it's dust.
I just want to tell you something, Joe. And this goes back to something you told me a long time ago. When we first
Mhm.
started doing this, Joe came out with a list of exactly how everything works. Okay? The spoken word creates it. Now, think about this. If you're light and the spoken word creates it, the cavernous structure is pushing that sound back to you and flipping into itself. So it's folding on itself into plasma. Okay?
Mhm.
Just understand this. Joe told you this a long time ago on exactly how it works. The spoken word. So what is it? Okay. If you're light and you speak a word, all you're doing is putting frequency in the cavern, which allows it to flip to plasma, which is exactly the conversion we just showed you. Joe said
Don't
it. Joe had
disagree.
it a long time ago.
Oh yeah, we could show you an episode where we explained it without knowing what we were talking about. We're like, well, this is what I think, but I don't know how, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
It just took a little fumbling around and Sean to read 2 lines out of a dated book that he's had for 30 years for him to be like, this guy wasn't able to get this to work all the time. I wonder if I can. you
Yeah.
know, that's what it took. Because
But make
once I
sure.
saw this thing, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I've been talking about all along. This is it. I don't know how yet, but we're going to figure it out.
By the way, it's what makes Sean an intuitive genius. The
Yep.
catch just pulls experiments out of left field and has them right every time. And what I find hilarious, and by the way, I have to go visit where he lives because I have to go to that thrift store that he goes to. Like, I don't know how it works, but like miracles happen in that thrift store where he gets everything that he needs. Like, it just magically appears to him or something, and he takes it home and creates all these cool experiments. It's like truly magical, man. I
Seemingly
gotta see
how
that
it
place.
works. Yeah, seemingly how it works.
Yeah,
Well, good
but
good things happen for good people. That's what I like to think.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's kind of cool, guys. So what we're gonna do, like I said, is we're gonna create a series on this, and we're just gonna go through it. We're gonna call it Project RAV, and we're gonna go through it and show you the clips like this and exactly how Sean did it. So he'll go through and he'll build it, and then we'll see the end of it, like we see here in the crystal formation on the last video. and we'll explain it. And we'll keep doing that until everybody kind of gets where we're going with it and how it builds out. And it gets better and better. That's the crazy thing. It continues to get better because when you start to see the process unfold, it's like dominoes. They just start to fall. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
then we'll bring in the stuff because when you think about it, you have a spherical structure that's actually built out in resonance, but which actually builds out in the harmonics of it in the fifths, which actually gives you superconductivity and everything, and actually shows the geometrical patterns that we all look at. And everybody goes, well, that's fringe. Well, all those things happened in the RAV, every single one of them. And then you go look at everything around the planet and you go, well, that was carved into stone. How does that fall into it? Well, it's right there. Well, if you have energy in your planet, guess what? When you get to an organite, where's the energy coming from? Well, it's still coming from the planet. You're just drawing it in. Guys, it all makes sense now. Every bit of fringe thing we've always been talking about is actually real science. We
Yep.
just didn't get to that point where it became science until now.
It was an effort of connecting the dots. There's no new discoveries, no new observations, even just connecting why and how and in what proportions. And once you understand, if you could get a physicist to understand and say, okay, well, you understand a spark gap and an anode cathode relationship, yes. Well, we understand how the Earth draws a charge from the Earth and lightning connects to it, right? Okay, yeah. And okay, so far so good. And then you understand electrolysis, yes? Okay, cool. And once you just get even that far, you're halfway there to understanding it. It's like, okay, so what happens when you create a differential on two sides of things and they meet? Okay, that, right? Okay. And when energy's traveling this way, what is that? Oh, that's a current. Okay. And then when it switches to traveling this way, because that's what would happen here, right? Because what you just said, yeah. Okay. What happens then? And then you just tell them what they already know, show them what it's doing, and then you see it, and you're like, yes, exactly that. That's what it's doing. Things apparently do that,
Yeah,
Things
I love
apparently
that.
do that. Right.
Joe's famous saying, things don't do that.
Yeah, things don't do that. No, things apparently do that.
We're going to have to change it. Oh, I love it, Bill.
Yep. So and that's the way it has to be, because that's the way it is. You see, it's all been figured out already. They just haven't connected the dots. And the whole entire reason is because everything that we do in both theory and with engineering on the electronics end of things, it avoids the one thing that we're doing, which is interrupting a circuit, but allowing it to feed. That's it. You're interrupting a connection of an offset bias, but still allowing it to connect, because you got to remember that things are only as insulative, okay, until you reach the threshold where they're not. And when you cross that threshold, you would immediately say that's a failure. You see, if you were running any kind of electrical system and then all of a sudden the thing is arcing to it and it's trying to pull out and the thing starts hissing, and then all of a sudden a huge ball of fire forms on a surface, you're going to say that this failed. That's not what we wanted to do. End of story. And you don't even look closely at it. You just consider it a failure. So avoid it at all costs. And then obviously if you're bringing something like that in and it fails and it's in close proximity to other stuff, yeah, guess what? Form a RAV on the motherboard of your laptop. See what happens. You know what I mean? This sort of thing. Like, yeah, it's going to dematerialize all sorts of stuff. Your laptop's going to smoke. other things are going to fail before it can perpetuate any further. The thing's going to be fried. It's never going to work again. And then you're going to say, this thing's a piece of shit. I'm sending it back to the manufacturer under warranty. You know, and that's it. But that's not what it's meant to do, right?
Yeah. So give me a second. I want to pull something up because I want people to see it, and I want you to go visit something. Okay, so go ahead and talk for a second, Joe. Just give me a second. I'm looking for it. Oh, where is it?
Okay, I'm going to address something in the chat while you look for that. So Robert says it's not transmutation of element, it's bonding, but how? You make some serious monies if you figure out the bonding. Okay, so let's break this down just real quick. All right, I'm going to do this in less than 2 minutes. All right. You're creating the plasma. The plasma has a draw and an opposite side. Okay. The chase separates the differentials. I'm not going back into how RAV works because we've discussed it exhaustively. All right. You have a low energy state on one side, and this low energy state is atomic nuclei with no electrons. You have high energy state being deposited on the other side, and that's pretty much all electrons. All right. In the middle, you have the RAV working as a centrifugal pump, basically. Okay. That's keeping an asymmetric feed of high and low energy states between the two, allowing for the perpetuation of the reaction. Now, if the RAV contains both the high and the low energy states, and they're not allowed to mix, okay, the RAV also has another side to it, okay, and where the in-between of these two RAVs are, now you do not see the other RAV, okay, because the cathodic side's weird. We'll get there another day. The point is that there's a relationship that always exists in the intermedium, okay, and it exists in the immediate area of the RAV's field, okay, because there's multiple fields in play. They all work off of each other like gears. Sort of how it goes. Anything that's not inside the RAV, but inside the RAV's field, okay, is in a state of mix, asymmetric, stable, non-equilibrium. All right. There's points where it crosses. Okay. And I have multiple pictures of that here. I'll put my hand over the one that Nathan doesn't want me to show. And you can see this one right here. Okay. You can see that there's multiple points in the intermedium where it crosses. Okay. In that entire zone where it crosses, you have free atomic mass and free electrons, okay, which all they want to do is bond, because without one, but for not one, then not the other. And all the energy wants to do is either attack or bond this matter. That's the matter's trick. You see, the energy wants to attack it and break it down, but if it's not coming in at a high density level, okay, then it's not breaking down anything any further. Plus, it's already been broken down. So the only thing it's going to do is actually get snatched up by the atomic nuclei. Why? Because the atomic nuclei has a greater mass. Follow. Okay. Well, now you've accumulated electrons, okay, on this piece of atomic nuclei. But now you have more atomic nuclei and more electrons. So how are they structuring? Based on the resonance of that particular zone. And the resonance is not one thing, okay? It's not one thing. It's multiple frequencies, because each line that goes in has its own frequency that's interacting with the field. These create offset beat frequencies and overall resonant frequencies, okay? And it acts as a code. This code creates a standing wave, and the standing wave structures exactly what's going into place. As soon as it's structured, more moves in and structures that same way. And because it structures the same way, and the molecules bond together in their formation, that's analogous to the formation of themselves in the first place. It just is a repeating fractal pattern at that point. That's how it's both transmutation and how the bonding occurs. That's how the crystallization occurs. It doesn't occur in the non-equilibrium state. The non-equilibrium state is needed to perpetuate the entire reaction. The rebonding occurs in the equilibrium state and is dependent on what I just said. The multiple frequencies, the offset beat patterns, and it's not just boom, 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 the beat, right? It could be boom, 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 boom. I said it's all sound, and that boom, 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 it's all different notes, okay, and all these different pitches, and combined with the beat, the pitch and the beat, it's music. The music structures what it is. It's crazy because it's exactly what it is. Literally, you could run a song through this, where if the song were able to translate into that beat frequency and pitch, right, it would structure the matter the same as the song.
Well, that's why, just so you know, certain pillars around the world, and I think it's in India, they have pillars, and if you turn them on their side, they are frequency. You actually either have a song in there, or you actually have something important that they wanted to tell you, and it's all in the pillars. If you look at them, they're rounded and they go like this all the way up. Turn them to their side, put it through a program, and you're going to find out what they were trying to tell you. Anyway, I wanted to show this. Merkaba had asked us, and I'll do it in a future episode as well. I gave the link to it, but I want you guys to see this because you're going to love it. Okay? And it ties in right to what we're talking about here. And
Yep.
Here we go.
Substantial and lasting drop in electrical resistivity. And that, my friends, is the smoking gun. It is the exact electronic signature Fenning's theory predicted. It's real-world experimental. Sounds like it's straight out of science fiction. Dynamically doped liquid superconductors. It's a pretty wild story, folks. It kicks off with a claim that sounds an awful lot like alchemy, but it ends with a technology that could literally change the world as we know it. So, let's get into it.
So let me just start with a question that, honestly, feels like it should be asked in a medieval lab, not a modern one. Can simple sound waves, just sound, actually turn one element into a completely different one? I mean, that idea alone pretty much challenges everything we think we know about physics.
Because, believe it or not, that's the core claim we're digging into today. There was this really controversial experiment that suggested if you blast liquid mercury with ultrasound, you could actually create gold, along with a bunch of other stuff. So, what on earth is going on here?
To figure that out, we have to start with the experiment itself, because the results were, and I'm putting this mildly, completely and utterly shocking.
Okay, so back in 2017, a research team reported something that just sounds, well, impossible. They took regular liquid mercury, hit it with some seriously high-powered ultrasound for just 3 minutes, and watched as part of it just turned into solid grains. And here's the really weird part. This happened at 260 degrees Celsius. That's hundreds of degrees above Mercury's normal freezing point. It just shouldn't happen. But the real bombshell dropped when they actually analyzed those solid grains. They found a whole zoo of new elements that just weren't there to begin with. We're talking everything from superlight lithium to heavy hitters like gold and even radioactive thorium. It looked for all the world like random modern-day alchemy. But was it truly random? For a few years, this whole thing was just a weird footnote, a scientific anomaly. That is, until an independent researcher, Nicholas Fenning, decided to take a much closer look at that list of elements, and what he found was a stunning, hidden pattern in all that chaos. And this number right here, this is the key, the absolute key to this entire puzzle. When Fenning analyzed the properties of every single one of those new elements, he found a perfect correlation. 100%. 100% correlation to what, you ask? Superconductivity. Yeah, you heard me right. Every single product element, from the titanium to the tin, all the way to the gold, is part of this exclusive club of materials that can become superconductors. Fenning gave this a name, the quantum selection rule.
It was this massive blinking sign that whatever was happening, it was anything but random. And this is the point, you see. This pattern changes the whole story. It goes from being this bizarre, no way that happened kind of anomaly to a genuine scientific mystery that needs a solution. It's a puzzle that suggests some new kind of physics was at play, a hidden mechanism that for some reason loves to create superconductors. So, to explain this puzzle, Fenning came up with a whole new theory. He calls it the runaway galvanic boost, and it is a totally radical way of thinking about how matter can be fundamentally reorganized. Okay, so the theory starts with this wild idea called the supercoherent quantum state. The thinking is that the intense pressure waves from the ultrasound don't just shake the mercury atoms around. Oh no. They actually force the messy, chaotic liquid into a super-organized, synchronized structure. It's like a mosh pit at a concert suddenly snapping into a perfectly synchronized marching band.
And this chart here just nails the difference. In a normal liquid, atoms are all over the place, right? And electrical resistance is high. But in this theoretical supercoherent state, the atoms get organized, they're in sync. And the biggest, most important consequence of that, the electrical resistance should absolutely plummet. Now that's a great theory, but is there any actual proof that sound can do this to a liquid metal?
Amazingly, yeah, there is. Back in 2015, a totally separate, peer-reviewed study did almost exactly this. They took a liquid metal alloy, blasted it with ultrasound, and measured its electrical properties. And what did they find? I'm quoting here, a substantial and lasting drop in electrical resistivity. And that, my friends, is the smoking gun. It is the exact electronic signature Fenning's theory predicted. It's real-world experimental proof that, yes, ultrasound can push a liquid metal into that low-resistance, highly ordered state, the perfect setup for these crazy transformations to kick off. So, if the theory actually has some legs, how do you harness it? Well, Fenning didn't just stop with the theory. He went ahead and actually designed a machine that could control and sustain this entire process. He calls it the tri-field activation chamber, and it's basically built on a dance between three different forces. You've got the acoustic field, that's the ultrasound to get the whole thing started and condition the mercury. Then you've got an electric field for propulsion to get the liquid moving. And finally, a magnetic field to control that movement, basically turning the electrical input into a nice, stable spin. Now here's where it gets really elegant. The way these fields work together creates something called a dynamo feedback loop. You know that horrible high-pitched squeal you get when a microphone is too close to a speaker? That's audio feedback, right? The sound is feeding back on itself and amplifying. Well, this is kind of the same idea, but instead of making a terrible noise, it's used to stabilize a quantum state. It's brilliant.
So let's break it down into 4 simple steps. Step 1, the external
Hey, can
fields
we
get the
pause it
mercury
real quick?
spinning. Step 2, as that
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was one thing that I wanted to say, 2 things actually, right? So first of all, about the transmutive element, a portion of it. Well, you can transmute it in those cases with only sound, because the important thing to realize about all the listed elements is that they're actually just different versions of the overlying group, which is of the same element. So it's just a built-up version of the lower density versions of itself, you see? So even though they're different elements, right, they are in essence of the same base element. They would go off of the same note, right? So
Mhm.
those things structured in that note, and I don't know what note that is, but that pitch variation lends itself to those that ability to have organizing properties in that way. In what way? Well, in the way that they showed, right, where it's cubic and repeating. Why does something that's cubic and repeating have superconductive properties? Because it is an analog and equal to a pure rest state. You see, when you structure something that's cube, 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 and it's just ever repeating cube, 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 right? That is exactly what pure rest state is. See, there's no incoherence. See, when we call something coherent, we call it coherent because it's specific and the same. Okay, but anything that's coherent, okay, anything that's manifest at all, is actually a form of incoherence of rest. Okay, so whenever you're structuring something's lattice as perfectly symmetrical coherence, there is no incoherence in it, which is the same as the rest state, which is the same as no resistance, which is the same as the pure potential, which is the same as the ether, which is the same as the 0 point.
Okay.
You see? Like bang, 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 bang. So now superconductor, and these things have that ability. You could bring the sound in to restructure them that way. You could also bring in other stuff to make them heavier with using sound if you have the right combination of frequencies.
Okay. I just want to point this out. And Mike's got it right. Okay. Shout out Mike Does out there. He's got it right. Why do you think Alexei put in a piezoelectric disc to aluminum? He literally made the aluminum a superconductor, removed the resistance, and there you go. It made it a superconductive element that would eventually self-sustain itself.
Mhm.
That right there is the simple answer of the Gravity Flyer why he's doing it. Mike said it right. Joe's got it right. And Merkaba, big shout out. He's got it
That's
right.
a great video, and it's a good point. It's all true.
Yeah, it's literally. If you're into that project, man, you better know that
Mhm.
because that changes the entire project for you and why it's working. It was absolutely amazing that Fenning put it out like that, or Merkaba did. So yeah, I left the video. You can watch it yourself. He's got several more on it if you guys are into it. But there you go, right
Yep.
there. There's
Well,
the
Mike does his
Mike.
2 for 2 on the day, huh?
Oh yeah,
You got the 3 holes right all along, and now he's right on that tip.
that's right. Yeah, it was Merkaba's video. Yeah. So, yeah, guys, I would encourage everybody to go to check that out because he's got several videos on it. And Merkaba's awesome, man. By the way, the machine that he did build, and he said it in there, he did build an ultrasonic machine that actually takes and spins magnets and other things in there. And he is using mercury in the center of it. So just rest assured, if you click on that, you want to see the rest of his videos in there for the machine he built. Absolutely mind-blowing, okay, and what he did. So now shout out to him. We're going to watch some Dan Winter videos soon because everybody mentions him, you know what I mean, in what we're doing, because apparently he's got the same thing going on that we do in some way.
Oh yeah, there's more than one way to skin a cat, but
Oh yeah.
the fact is that the principle is always going to be the same, right? If you're going to use current and voltage to do it, you could also use sound to do it too. It's just got to be an exchange, right?
Well, by the way,
you could do the same thing.
that's why you got to understand plasma makes sound. Plasma is in space. Space has sound. It's all in there. What are you trying to do? You're trying to line up literally that field in the gravity flyer that makes that plasma in that sound with the ultrasound. And as soon as you do, just like Merkaba says, it screams like a banshee. Okay.
All right. I did something the other day, and I don't know how I feel about it just yet, so I was not going to talk about it, but I think I should anyway. All right. I was making a roast on the stove, and I don't have a pressure pot, and I didn't want to have to eat at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. So I took a big pot that I had, and I put just a little bit of liquid in it. Okay, like a little bit, and I put the roast in there, whatever, right? And a little bit of liquid. I cranked it up, and I took a big stainless steel bowl, right? And I put the big stainless steel bowl as the lid. And
Okay.
just as it would, it's going to create a seal, right? So then what I did to keep it from just boiling out was I put water, okay, into the bowl. And now what do I know? A few things, right? I know that it's not going to blow up because as soon as the pressure level gets enough to lift that amount of water at like however many pounds, it's going to blow off and it's not going to be at a dangerous level, right? But now I started the water off cold. This is where it gets interesting. All right. Started the water off cold. Well, that's like thunderstorm stuff, right? But what happens when it gets hot, like a double boiler? Well, let me tell you something. It started boiling all that water. It was not a bomb. It did not blow up. It had a passive, reliable pressure release system by virtue of weight. Okay. Anyway, I digress. So you have all of it boiling underneath, all that heat energy transferring in a more concentrated fashion, okay, than the dispersal of the equal heat in or close to equal. See, offset, cooler, but still boiling, okay, from the much larger mass up top. And it's a bowl into it. Remember that. So it has a convection that's swirling and spiraling. You see, I created a tornado inside of the bowl. But the only way I realized that was because I created a tornado on the top of the bowl too. And it was very small. It wasn't like you could stick your finger in it or nothing, but it definitely had a rotation to it. When I went to go check it, the steam was swirling in the opposite way. You see, that is the exact energy exchange. The difference is that I was not letting the direct contact occur. You see, now, if I took infinitesimally small holes and I put infinitesimally small holes in the bottom of this, enough where like it would leak a little pressure, but not a whole ton, you see, then that would be an asymmetric exchange, wouldn't it? Well, what the hell do you think would happen then?
I
Well,
don't know. You tell me, because I'm still thinking boom.
It didn't go boom. In fact, and it cooked the thing in an hour.
Did it really?
And, yeah. Oh yeah, it was genius. You know what I mean? Like way more effective than any pressure pot you could ever have. It twice the danger and whatever. But I'm
love
pretty
it.
sure that if you allowed for the exchange between the top and the bottom, that you would have some type of RAV circumstance. It wouldn't be a plasma ball RAV. I'm not saying that, but you would have the exact exchange motion relationship that would exist in that situation, that same situation. You're taking two things that are the same, one with a higher mass, one with a higher density. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you're doing.
I'm telling you, man, you got a pair of steel ones right there, buddy, doing that. I wouldn't do that.
Oh, come on, a pressure pot, you clamp the thing down, and then you're relying on a mechanical valve to save your life. Okay? This, if it could lift 6 pounds, let's say it was 3/4 of a gallon of water in there or something. If it could lift 6 pounds, all it's going to build up is 6 pounds of pressure.
Okay. Well,
Right?
I think Mike said try using ultrasound on your roast.
That'll do it. It probably fall apart.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right. We're there with you, man. Get your plasma pressure cooker today. Hey, we saw that, by the way. Brendan cooked his chicken in plasma.
He's like, did you eat it? He's like, yeah.
Oh, he did. That thing, dude, that's so ugly the way that whole process worked. And he ate it anyway. That was
I was
amazing.
disgusting. Let's be straight. That thing was like glowing purple and on fire.
Yeah. Oh man. You go. He says, right there, that fish says it's a billion dollar idea, which he just came up with.
Well, they kind of already did it. You see, they did it with hot dogs back in the day where you would just like connect the hot dog between the anode and the cathode, and then it would heat the hot dog up that way. In 1 minute, it would cook the thing to well done.
Oh my god, I did it with my Tesla coil with hot dogs, but I didn't get the plasmoid in the center to blow up. That would have been something.
Mm-hmm.
I did, by the way, for junior high, I did stick things in a microwave, including a hot dog for my science experiment. It was more funny than it was experimental, I guess, because they gave me a C for it. But I thought it was awesome.
You might. Well, I mean, honestly, as a teacher, like that like tops the list of like low effort, low thought process science projects. I microwaved a hot dog. I put it in. Stuff
I,
happened. It got hot. One of the ends was still cold. You know, like
in all fairness, I did it with beans too. I mean, like I wanted to see the relationship. Like, yes, I know now. Okay.
I can imagine Nathan and his sixth grade self. My hypothesis is that it's going to get hot. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, man. It's
Oh,
funny.
what are you gonna do, man? It was junior high school, man, and we had to come up with something, and we didn't
Yeah,
have
that's
no
all right.
money
See,
at the
my parents
house.
were divorced, man, and like I got sent home with a science project one time, and like I don't know, I was in third grade or something. Like I didn't read the paper or something. My parents were supposed to help me. It said so on the paper that I didn't read. Well,
Yeah.
long story short, my mom says to my dad, like, he has a science project due Monday. You have to do it with him. He has to make some kind of boat, something that floats or whatever. They're doing buoyancy in school. And my dad's like, my dad, very much like me, you know, actually, well, other way around, isn't it? Right. Long story short, my dad's like, yeah, don't worry, man, we got you. So he goes, cuts, makes like this really cool raft looking thing. You know, it floats good and everything. It puts like a sail on it, a Lego man, the whole 9 yards. Totally, I'm super stoked about this thing. I'm excited. It looks cool, like a pirate raft and stuff. So I'm like, all right, my science project's done. It floats. That was the goal and whatever. So I get to school on Monday, and it turns out that had my mom read the paper and or given it to him and or given it to me, we would have known that the point of making the floating thing was to see how much weight it could hold and still stay buoyant. And this raft wasn't about to hold no more than my Lego man. You know, like it floated because it was wood and water, for Christ's sakes. Like it didn't have sides; it had holes and gaps and stuff in between the pieces of wood that we tied together, man. You know what I mean? Like it was just like the biggest epic fail ever.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and I
Well,
told my teacher, I was like, I think we misunderstood the project.
yeah. But you could have always taken what diet soda and regular soda in the can and put them into the water
Yeah,
and lots
man.
of
But
them with
nobody knew
sugar.
about that back in our days, man. They figured that one out later. I
They
mean,
got you
somebody
an
would have
A.
known, but not us.
Joe would have been the superstar of that one. Look, it's buoyant. The other one's not. There you go. You figure it out.
No, I'll never forget. One kid basically made a barge out of like 1/8 inch plywood, like hobby plywood and stuff. The thing was like silicone sealed on the sides and stuff. It had, you know, like walls like this big. They put as much weight as they could, and the thing wasn't sinking. It was taller than the water was deep. You know?
Love it. Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. It's been 3 hours, man. Dude, such a great show.
Awesome.
So much information, man. Yeah, if you guys get a chance, check out Merkaba's channel, man. give him a shout out, a thumbs up, and a subscribe, man. He's got some cool stuff going on there. You'll love that stuff. All right, I want to say thank you to a couple people out there, man. I want to say thank you to Darren. Gave 5 Old Man Build memberships out, man. Totally awesome. Richard Presswell became a new member, man. Just want to say thank you.
Right on, Richard.
Shout out. Cool. Shout out Travis Fools, man. Members for 2 months, man. Totally awesome show, guys. It's going to be awesome
Traveling
tonight.
fools.
Right on, guys. I just want to thank everybody in the chat, man. You guys have been totally awesome tonight, man. Been a fun time. Hopefully everybody learned something. Cool projects coming up, man. We're going full bore on the Gravity Flyer, full bore on the RAV, and that's kind of what I'm going to dedicate my time to, and just go over it piece by piece, man, until everybody gets it. With that said, I just want to say thank you to everybody, man. I really do appreciate everything.
All right, folks. Happy Friday. Peace and love.
The old man built. The old man built. The old man built. The old man built. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. Where conscious and spirituality been stricken from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to instead. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds.